Over the last few years, we have been, the red states in the United States have been doing a lot of really awful policy prescriptions in regards to transgender people. And this kind of thing has an effect down the road. You cannot do years and years of propaganda demonizing a small group of people without it having an effect, a greater effect nationally. And you're starting to see these stories pop up, and they are becoming more and more dangerous for regular folk. I remember I did a story a few weeks ago, maybe it was last month, regarding a woman who went to the bathroom in Walmart, and she got the hell beat out of her because she's tall. And whoever the person that beat her up, he just assumed that she was trans because she was a tall woman. So he beat the hell out of her. And, and she ended up getting fired from her job due to that. Because all of a sudden, Walmart is doing kind of cover for the guy that was doing the harassing of this woman. Anyway, this is something that I've been saying for a while, that when you single out a small group of people, it's going to bleed over into other groups of people without it being intentional. And, when you are talking about, trans athletes in schools, and you have, groups of people who immediately start accusing somebody of being trans because their 12-year-old daughter just got beat in fucking soccer by a girl with a pixie haircut. And immediately the first thing that the parent does is goes, I want you to check that kid's genitals to make sure she doesn't have a dick, because there's no way my daughter, my amazing soccer star daughter, lost to a regular girl. She's got to be steroid infused transgender with her little short haircut. And then what? Now we have to have a teacher do a genital inspection? I mean, people have been saying this for a little while now, that Republicans are fucking weird and they're odd, and they are totally obsessed with children's genitalia. And you say that we, transgender people, I included, I am just out there trying to get your kids and trying to make them all trans with my trans vibes. Fuck you, man. You're the ones that are obsessed with baby dick. My God. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, there was this woman. She is a lesbian woman. She's from Wisconsin, I believe. And she was in Chicago visiting with her cousin, who had just done like a choir sing-off, like her church's choir was doing a sing-off, and or a singing competition. And afterwards, to celebrate, they went to go to McDonald's to get something to eat and some ice cream or something. And while she was there, she decides to use the McDonald's bathroom. Anyway, this happened in Chicago, or just outside of Chicago in Illinois. And this is local. This is a local CBS News affiliate, and they do a report on this. And here, take a look at it.
Tonight, a Delavan woman is recovering after she says she was brutally attacked at a McDonald's in Carpentersville, Illinois, all because she's gay.
Oh, we do want to warn you, this is a graphic story. Andy Bernhardt joins us live in the studio. And Andy, you talked to the woman today. How's she doing?
Katie Grass says it all started with a man calling her an anti-gay slur. Now, 1 week after the attack, she's still recovering from a fractured nose and a hemorrhage in her eye, among other injuries.
Jesus. What kind of cruel person can people be out there to do this to somebody?
After stopping at a McDonald's in Carpentersville, Illinois with her 13-year-old cousin after a choir concert, Katie Grass says she went into the bathroom, and when she came out, everything changed.
So I walked out right away, and that's when they called me a and I mumbled under my breath along the lines of something like, don't call me. And That's when the minor followed me.
Grass says the two men continued to make anti-gay slurs after she acknowledged she was a lesbian.
He got my personal space, and the minor was talking about how we don't need weapons to kill you.
Police say witnesses and surveillance video show two people attacking her.
He swung and he hit me first in the jaw, and he kept hitting me in the front, and the minor started hitting me in the back.
Police arrested 19-year-old John Comrade and a 17-year-old boy, both facing several charges after Grass says one held her down while the other beat her, stomping on her head, causing her to go unconscious.
There was blood coming from the top of my head and my eye and out of my nose because it was broken, and I was spitting out blood.
She says she's disgusted that people would try and kill her because she's a lesbian.
The first time to almost, my life almost end because of it, it just kind of mind-blowing, like that there's actually people out there. It's that kind of situation where you think, oh, this is never going to happen to me, and then it happened to you.
And while both of the men arrested in this case are facing several charges, including aggravated battery causing great bodily harm, Grass says she wants hate crime charges filed against them. And Natalie and Jessup, the Kane County State's Attorney's Office says more charges could be possible.
Goddamn, folks. What are we doing here? Seriously, what are we doing? This shit breaks my heart. They assumed that since she is not super hyper feminine, she doesn't look like, you know, your typical buxom blonde-haired bimbo. She's got short haircut, that she was trans. And then she said that she's a lesbian, but it didn't really matter at that point. They just wanted to inflict some harm on somebody. And this poor woman, you know, takes it on the chin. And it's because of years of state legislatures passing laws against a very small minority. Maybe 1% of the country is trans. Maybe 10% of the country is gay. You know, back 100, 200 years ago, they did not, well, it wasn't even that long ago, honestly, the whole left-handed, right-handed thing. About 10% of the population is left-handed. They just are. You know, they're more left-hand dominant. But for years, they forced left-handed people to write right-handed. And after they started to allow people to do, you know, to write with their left hand, it kind of evened out, and it was about 10% of the country was left-handed. But they were doing everything they could to force left-handed people to write right-handed. But, I mean, something as small as that, but now it is on a scale of, you know, gay people and trans people, a very, very small minority. Meanwhile, in the last, I don't know, in the last 4 or 5 years, I would say at least 800 laws passed in state houses across the country are anti-gay and anti-trans laws. What, you ain't got nothing else to do in your state? Your state constituents don't have any other problems. Their groceries are affordable. Their rent's not that high. They got good social services. Everything is good in their lives, and that's all been wrapped up and taken care of. So now we got to take care of the whole trans thing. It is bullshit, busy work propaganda. So you don't actually have to do real legislation. You just, just circle around this ridiculous premise. I mean, like Nancy Mace, who is a congresswoman in our House of Representatives, 5 years ago, she was for, LGBT, Q group of people, and she would wave the rainbow flag, and she was all about that, that life. And then in the last couple of years, she realized, oh, this whole trans thing plays off. And then we have one trans congresswoman in our House of Representatives, and she starts, doing a little glory seeking by, putting out bills that say this trans person can't use my bathroom. What are they doing in the bathroom? Are they looking at me? Honey, ain't nobody looking at your ass in the bathroom. Nobody gives a good goddamn how many times you shit or piss. Nobody gives a damn about that. Certainly not that trans person. But meanwhile, this has become the new you. This is the hill that you want to die on. And many state houses across the country are doing this kind of shit. By the way, Texas, who is, they pride themselves on, we're free in Texas. We can do whatever the hell we want to. Yeah, right. Except look at porn. Oh, unless you submit your driver's license, talk about the surveillance state looking into your porn habits, or the fact that you can't smoke marijuana in the state. You get your ass arrested. Yeah, man, Texas sounds really free. Oh, by the way, Texas just they just passed a state law saying that you have to display the 10 Commandments in classrooms. So that whole church and state separation, forget about that shit, man. I had a conversation with a conservative one time. I said, well, how do you feel about the separation of church and state? And he's like, no. That in the First Amendment, that right there is to protect the church against government overreach. Even if I gave him that, it would be a balance to also have the church not overstep their bounds in regards to passing church laws against the against the constituents of that state. So you, as your particular religion, the one that you love the most, Christianity. I mean, what if I said you had to have a Quran in every classroom? The right would lose their ever-loving fucking mind. And you know this. Yeah, man, we're going to study Ganesh today. We're going to study Buddha today in the classroom. No, man, this protection of religious freedom is only freedom to practice Christianity in this country. That's all this has ever been. It's got nothing to do with religious freedom. It's got to do with their freedom to enforce and push their fucking religion on you. So when I hear them talking about religious freedom or just freedom in general, it's freedom to say the R word or the N word, or freedom to beat up a gay person or a lesbian person or a trans person. They don't really give a good goddamn about your freedom. They just want to inflict pain and make a very small marginalized group of people feel really bad about themselves. And I mean, for God's sakes, man, in so many of these states, remember when they were talking about, I'm sorry to keep going on about this, but these things just keep popping in my head. Remember when they were at the beginning, they were like, oh, we're just protecting children because we don't want children to have, to get butchered by surgeons. By the way, is not happening, does not happen. To have a full sex change, you've got to be an adult. You've got to be 18-year-olds to do that. Maybe on a handful of cases across the entire nation, maybe a couple of dozen trans men had their breasts removed at like 17 years old. But there is no bottom surgery whatsoever unless you are 18 or older. That's just the law. That is just what, and doctors will not do that. Doctors will not perform any kind of surgery. Gender-affirming care, generally speaking, for young people, has got to do with whether or not you get to dress as a girl, whether or not you get to go to a therapist and talk about it, whether or not, and they talk about hormone blockers, which, by the way, are completely reversible. And I want to hear this shit about, you reverse it, but the damage has already been done. Bullshit, man. Bullshit. And by the way, I have been on hormones for 20 fucking years, man. And I am as strong and healthy as I've ever been. So, you can miss me with that bullshit. But it was always, it started off with, we got to protect the children. We got to protect the children. Now, in many of these state house laws that are coming out now, whether you get gender affirming care or not, as an adult, you just don't get it anymore. You know, used to be able to go to a nurse practitioner to get your hormones. Now you got to go to a doctor, but you can't get to a doctor because there's just not enough doctors to be able to do those kind of things. So they are just putting more and more walls in front of you between you and your health care. And that is what gender affirming care is. It is health care. I remember they were talking about, oh, the government is funding all these prisoners in jails with their sex change surgeries. Yeah, man, it's called healthcare. If you were a prisoner and you had kidney disease, I'd want you to be able to have some surgery to correct that if you're a prisoner, because how we treat our prisoners is a reflection on how we treat our citizens. It's about being, is it just punishment? Is that all it is? Or are we supposed to learn from our mistakes? Because it doesn't sound like anybody wants anybody to go to prison and learn anything, or to better themselves, or to get reformed and then come out and be a better citizen. No, we just want to punish you. And we want to deny you any kind of health care. If you are sick as a prisoner in a prison, you deserve health care. If you are trans, you deserve health care. It does not matter who you are. If you are being imprisoned by the government, whether it's state or federal, you deserve health care, just like you deserve the shelter and the food that we put in their bellies. That is the requirement. You would want that for your Republican brethren. Why can't you allow that for transgender people? Because they make you feel funny. And a lot of these guys, I'm sure, probably, get a little turned on by the old trans girls out there. And I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm looking at this trans person and I just want to kill it, or I just want to have sex with it. I can't tell the difference, but I'm feeling really funny in my belly and it's not right. It's not right. So, God damn it, man. This kind of shit breaks my heart. And I feel so bad for this young woman who just got the hell beat out of her for using a goddamn bathroom. These policies, this rhetoric has implications that are just not taken into consideration when they're trying to pass these bills. They don't see the horror on the other side of what their propaganda stirs up. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.